And welcome to In-Game Chat for Saturday, November 9th, 2013. This is Season 7, Episode 39. I'm Scott.
I'm James.
I'm Jeremy.
And I'm RJ.
Full house in tonight with the exception of Matt, who will be back with us in the next couple of weeks, actually, as we go into the first week of the new console releases. If you'd like to get in touch with us, our phone number is 334-272-9228. That number again, 334-272-9228. You can find us on Twitter at In-Game Chat, as well as on Facebook. You can email us, everyone, at ingamechat.net. We are streaming the cam feed now through Twitch, and you can find us there, as well as join in the chat room live while we broadcast. As I said earlier, we are 1 week away from the PlayStation 4 hitting stores. Midnight releases in most places. If you have pre-ordered through whoever you've pre-ordered through, you might want to give them a call and see if they are doing a midnight release. I know that the local stores here are doing a midnight release. Ours,
The GameStops at the very least are.
yeah.
I don't know about Target. I don't know about Best Buy.
I don't either. I think Best Buy may. Target, from what I understand, is not. Just wherever you may have made your pre-order, give them a call. Find out. You can probably go over there. They actually may give you a call and let you know that they're doing, a midnight release for it or something like that, or when you can come and pick up your console if you pre-ordered it. Like I said, ours is doing it. I haven't been to a midnight launch of anything in a very long time.
About the only thing demanding a midnight launch has been, an actual game. Consoles, hardwares are so uncommon, so few and far between.
Yeah, I don't even remember how I got mine. At the current generation, I don't think I did.
Remember how you got your PS3? It wasn't at a midnight launch.
Well, no,
I do not remember
my first PS3 because remember I turned around and sold my first one.
Oh, that's right, you did.
It's the second one that's very familiar with how I got it, but the first one, I want to say I had it pre-ordered at a GameStop and I went in, but I didn't do a midnight thing with it. That I don't remember doing a midnight for that or for the 360. If I could.
Did you have it pre-ordered?
Yes, I did.
The 360.
I had. I think, man, that's tough. I can't remember. I cannot remember.
It's only been the better part of a decade, Scott.
I know.
I did the midnight launch for the Wii this last generation.
I did it for the Wii.
Yeah.
Yes, I do remember that because it was me and another buddy came up. We put our pre-orders on the store at the mall and had to come up and get it from there because at the time where we lived didn't have a GameStop.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. That's God. So yeah, we didn't have one, so we had to come up here. So I do remember that, but I don't remember the 360.
I got my 360 and PS3 both secondhand. So
yeah, I can't remember at all. It doesn't. Midnight doesn't feel familiar for it, but yeah, it's been a while since I've done a midnight. Regardless, though, I think the last midnight I did was Arkham City.
Okay.
Because I'd taken the day off, and I went up there at midnight and grabbed it and. It was my birthday. It was released on my birthday. That's right. And I took my birthday off, and so the night before I went up and I got it. Apparently, from what I was reading online about how they're doing it for GameStop anyway, was at 6 o'clock you can start going to the store if you have a pre-order, put the rest of your money down or finalize the transaction. You'll get a receipt, and it'll have a place number for you in the line. I believe is that correct?
That's the way I understand it. Yeah.
Yeah. So. And then when you come back at midnight, that's the order that you're going to be in for when they start doing that.
Okay.
So, which apparently this is something they did for GTA 5 when it released, but I didn't do a midnight for that. So I had no idea that that's the way we were doing it. I kind of like this method.
It sounds pretty efficient.
Yeah.
They've been doing something like this for a while. They don't assign numbers, but everything else about how they handle it is pretty much the same as what they've been doing for years. Finalize your transactions before midnight. And then I think most people, even if you're talking 100 plus, which is what I remember from the last World of Warcraft expansion I actually bought in the store, which has been 2 ago, minutes, like really minutes to get everybody processed and get everything out because the transaction's already closed out.
Yeah, it does not take long.
So they just got to hand it off.
Yeah, it doesn't take long to do. Are you taking the day off?
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I'm still in debate about doing a midnight. I kind of want to, but then again, I don't know if I'm gonna. I don't know. Because
if you aren't going to spend the following day with it, then the midnight makes essentially no sense whatsoever.
If I do it at midnight, or if I do it at basically 3:30 in the afternoon, If I do it at midnight, I'm not going to get any more time in it. I'm just going to get it, go home, and then go back to bed, probably. There's no, and who knows what it's going to be like doing the update and all this other stuff about how well everything's going to be connected with the entire
I'd like to
country
see.
getting all this.
I'd like to try it.
Yeah, having to get
straight away.
that day one download, that day one patch, with everything else. So I'm also curious as far as GameFly is concerned about when they're going to send.
When they're going to ship. Like, do they have? Are they free to ship games prior to the 15th so that you can get them on the 15th?
It would seem like there wouldn't really be a problem in doing that. I mean, I know that stores are already selling games, so I don't see, other than them not having the supply at the moment. But I don't see why they wouldn't send them early. Because obviously, there's no way for us to play them without the system, unless, of course, you're one of the lucky few who ordered from Target, apparently, or well, that was for the Xbox One,
right?
Although I think there is a PS4 out there. That got
there are PS4s out there for connected people.
Yeah.
I think the difference being that an attempt to put your Xbox online right now gets you console banned until launch.
Yeah.
PlayStation doesn't.
Even if
Sony isn't issuing account or console bans.
No,
and Microsoft isn't issuing account bans, but they are issuing console bans.
Yeah. So even if you do get your system, the point is, two people that we know of got their system early from a Target error in Target store's error in their in the way that they were
a shipping error.
Yeah. So the guys got them. One guy put them up on eBay for an obnoxious amount of money, and it got pulled. That's fine. The other guy decided
it got pulled by him or by
eBay.
By eBay, really?
Yeah. It's from what I remember reading. Yes, eBay pulled it.
That's awfully, I don't know, overlordish.
Maybe eBay at the instruction of someone else.
Let the free market do what it wants to do, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we understand the system to be more or less useless anyway without its day one update. So what does it matter? Unless you're concerned that any materials, pictures, or video recordings of the machine prior to its release shows it in a bad light, in an unupdated state. I don't know.
It was very, it was strange. I was being asked this earlier about. They wanted something. It was concerned with the station that we broadcast from, and I said, I don't think that would be a problem as long as it's not in any kind of negative light. I don't think they'd have any problem with that. I think it'd be great because it's promotion, it's whatever for the. And I said, that's interesting because I was just reading about what Microsoft had done. This guy, one guy did this thing, and that's fine. He hit the eBay route, whatever. This other guy decided to open it up, start taking questions, start getting into the system, messing around with it. He was able to download the patch. He was taking pictures. Really, pretty positive all the way around.
He had very little to say that seemed negative. And a couple of things that he said that weren't good news were not because he couched it in a bad way.
Yeah.
One of them being he was playing with Snap programs. He was playing with the multiplicity of apps that you can have going, and he had ghosts on in the background. Then it wound up dumping ghosts from memory. I think is one of the things he said. He was swapping between things, and after some time of being outside of the game just not crashed, but it seemed like it was just closed by the system, probably by the hypervisor.
Yeah.
So, and I look at that and think that the game should really always be a primary concern. But even he didn't seem to deliver that news in any kind of negative fashion. He didn't seem
not
to.
at all.
I mean, he was very, very positive about the system. Maybe unbelievably so. I don't know, depending on what you think, but. I don't know. He had nothing bad to say. It was the best press the Xbox One has had in 5 months.
Huge. It was great. I mean, it took a guy, a regular Joe type of fella, to get his console and then really give something that a lot of people looked at and didn't have kind of a jaundiced eye to it or a little bit of skepticism as to, I mean, there were some people who suspected it as being a PR stunt.
It's hard not to.
Until his console got banned. And then it's like, oh, no, it wasn't. And it's interesting as to why it got banned. And not really why. I mean, obviously, maybe it's their policy to do that. It just seems not the best move to make when your system is getting such praise, really. Getting such exposure in a very positive way, more so than you've really ever gotten so far since you did it May 21st.
Microsoft's problem is their inability to Microsoft doesn't message well.
No.
That's one of their big problems, and it's been, I think, the big problem with the Xbox One. And how they respond to not being in complete control of the message is like this. You know, they bring the hammer down. They want to cut it off entirely. Doesn't matter whether it's good, bad, or neutral. They don't see it in that way. They don't look at someone else's message in that light. It's just not theirs, and therefore has to be stopped. It has to be shut down.
It's not coming officially.
Yeah.
So therefore, we can't let it out there, with the exception of the fact that after the 22nd, you have no control over that. Yeah.
I suppose it's the 22nd. I've heard rumors that there are additional embargoes past the official release date about certain things for the press.
For the press, maybe, yeah. But that's not going to stop anybody else from.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Supposedly.
I mean, if they have official embargoes in place, I don't know what they're going to have to say if you're posting critical videos online. I don't know. That's guesswork based on rumor.
Yeah, and well, I mean, that goes to show they were able to pull. This guy did an unboxing video, and that's where it started. Microsoft was able to pull that based on a copyright claim, which again goes to the topic that we had about YouTube's copyright claims to begin with.
Right.
Because it's a physical thing. He had proof of purchase, which again, it's very interesting. Microsoft asked said, "Could you show us a proof that you purchased this?" And he worked with them and provided them everything that they asked for. In the end, still getting his video pulled and his console banned.
Yeah.
From what we found out, that this is not a permanent ban. It will be unbanned once the 22nd hits and everything's released and everything else. He'll be able to get back online, but apparently it's banned until then for the time being. So it just seemed like it was another Microsoft mess up in their marketing. Microsoft marketing mess up. Just want to get alliteration in there. And they haven't really done, like James said, they haven't really done a good job. They've never done a good job with their message since they first started giving us a message back on the 21st of May, when it was all TV, and then E3, and then the DRM turnaround, and then everything else that's happened since then. Just hasn't been that great of a message for them. Whereas Sony, this gives Sony a perfect opportunity to step in there and say, all right, whatever they're doing over there that's getting the flack, make sure you don't do that. So when somebody gets a console that, is in their favor, that is legitimate, don't ban them. And somebody asked Sony and said, would you ban people that haven't? Sony flat out said publicly, no, we won't. Which is another, notch in their belt as far as their PR and their messages. So anyway, looking forward to getting the console on Friday. Don't know if I'm doing it midnight or if I'm just going to pick it up that afternoon. Probably, I'm still undecided. I don't know. You'll probably sway me, because if you go in at midnight, I'll probably just, I'll probably buckle and go with you.
I'd be interested. I would be interested to know from the people there, from real people. I'm assuming they'll be real people. why they did what they did. I'm interested to hear from both camps. I mean, I'm not going anywhere near the Xbox for now, but I would really be interested to know why. Like, why did you do this? I sometimes feel like I'm in an echo chamber or in the rarefied air of the enthusiast gamer. We all think that we all think everyone thinks the way we do. We all think everybody sees the industry the same way we do, and that's just not the case. So I'd be really interested to know, particularly how many of them were converts, primarily 360 gamers in this previous generation, and they're now PS4 gamers. I'd really like to know if anybody, if that kind of person really is there, or if it's all just a bunch of Sony guys, or what. I'd like to hear from them what they think is about to happen, what kind of world they think they're about to go into.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I suppose if they're going to be showing up next, 1 week from that night too, if they're getting both. If they're going both ways.
How many
I'm
people
more
will be at both launches?
Yeah, I'm actually way more interested in. Let me say this correctly. I find the Xbox One to be a much more interesting product. I think the PS4 is a far better console. All of the math, all of the numbers and bullet points point to that being absolutely true.
Yeah.
But the Xbox is more interesting, not just because it's controversial, But because there's been such a storm cloud following it for the last half year, because we expect it to fall flat on its face, right, the starting gun fires, it crosses the line and instantly trips over its own shoelaces. That's what people expect. And we expect it to go on being that way for the next 5 years. And I just can't believe it's going to be as bad as we all think. But part of me thinks that it's possible. Part of me thinks that it's going to be really interesting when we see the numbers a month from now, or a little over a month from now. We see NPD sales numbers. See which system is actually really in the lead, to see what really happens. This is the last time we are going to get together and talk in this generation. This is the last show of this generation, which is actually a little bit strange. This show has only ever existed inside of this console generation.
It's true.
And it was not long after the 360 launch that we started. So it's a little strange to me and a little bit sad to be moving into something else, particularly something else I don't seem to care a whole lot about. I mean, I guess I'm going to spend the money on the PS4. I've got it pre-ordered. It's there.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess. I don't know, because I'm terrified that something super interesting is going to happen and then I won't have one. That's what I'm really afraid of. And I'm also a little bit bitter that none of the more interesting console launches in the past was I ever a part of when they launched. Mm-hmm. So this is a more boring, less powerful generation, but it's, the opportunity I've got to be there day one, so I suppose I'll take it.
Yeah.
Also Destiny.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Daniel.
Not coming to the PC.
Blame you.
Gersnort, who is in the chat room, hit us a message on Facebook and said, since it's the end, effectively, of a console generation, I think it'd be a great time to do a game retrospective, maybe go around the room and ask for their favorite games of the generation, their most disappointing games that you guys had. So maybe we will do that coming up in the show. But right now we're going to take our first break of the show, and when we come back, we will have more of In-Game Chat. We'll be right back. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. Before we hit the break, I was just reading about what Gersnort, who had kind of suggested that, we kind of look at as far as the end of this generation, go back and look at some of our favorite games of this generation. And music there is from Alan Wake. That is Welcome to Bright Falls.
Is that a favorite game or a disappointment?
It is. It was not a disappointment, but it wasn't my favorite.
Oh, it was a huge disappointment for me.
Yeah, I know you weren't happy with it. A lot of anticipation for it, and then it turns into a huge disappointment. So.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad game necessarily, but it wasn't particularly good either. Not from those guys, not from Remedy.
That was another one you were talking. I know when we took the controller back, and you were talking about Destiny, that you were kind of sad that they weren't bringing that, and then Remedy's doing Quantum Break.
Quantum Break.
Yeah,
that's a little bit disappointing. I think I have to have an awful lot more on the hook to draw me over to an Xbox. That's a little bit sad. Maybe, crossing my fingers, I'll see a PC release of Quantum Break as well. since we saw it for Alan Wake.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
But Alan Wake was an enormous wait. I remember that being one of the first videos we saw for an upcoming game on the 360. And it seemed so much more like a genuine horror adventure. Not survival horror, but something that was horror, adventure game, mystery. And what we got was sub-mediocre third-person, non-action flashlight game. And it wasn't very, it wasn't very good. I didn't really enjoy it. It's not bad, and I've tried several times to get through it on the PC. It certainly looks good enough, but it's not tense. It's not intense. It's not bracing or terrifying the way a really good horror game can be. There's just really nothing about it that...
Yeah, I guess if I look back on that I'm remembering now, the beginning of it was nice. That first episode is really good. I really enjoyed the first episode of Alan Wake. The second episode and the third episode is okay, but the formula starts to get old.
Yeah.
With how that whole thing plays out. And I know I know that things actually have to happen in order for the mechanic of what the game's got to do in order for that to work, but it just got very repetitive of save point, now go from point A to point B in the woods.
Make your way through the woods.
Save point.
Make your way through the woods.
Exactly.
It was crap. Mechanically, it was fine. Mechanically, the game was sound. I really liked the way they broke it up into episodes. I still think Alan Wake would have been a perfect candidate for an episodic release.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been brilliant. Everything could have been handled a little bit better. The repetitious making your way through the woods wouldn't have hurt quite as bad.
Because you wouldn't have played it
if
right
you were
after.
doing it once a month instead of once an hour. Yeah, overall, it was a pretty big disappointment. Gersnort brings up absolutely the worst video game ever made, which can't help but be a disappointment. Assassin's Creed 3 is literally the worst game that has ever been made.
He says it is his most disappointing game, and then he just hands it over to you. He did say that his favorite on the Facebook post. He said his favorite game was Mass Effect 2.
Okay, that's
this
fair enough.
generation.
That's fair. It was super good. I enjoyed it an awful lot, but I was in the. You never played any of them, right?
No, I played.
No, yeah, you're worthless in this conversation.
Exactly.
You played all three.
Yes.
Right, and you played all of that stuff. And you played RJ a little bit of.
I tried Mass Effect, but I tried Mass Effect, but I just could not get into it.
What did you try? Did you try 2?
3?
You tried 2.
I tried
because
2.
it came out on the PS3.
That's right.
Okay,
that was
right.
the
I tried
interesting
2.
point
Yeah,
about
okay.
you is because
I don't.
Yeah.
See, I still don't even know if the game is to blame or like it just doesn't align with your tastes because I can't really see coming in on that
It just
game
didn't
at
hold
the
my
second.
interest. It just didn't hold my interest.
Right,
in
but
it, that's all.
What I'm saying is the problem is that you didn't start with the first one.
No.
The whole reason for existing, the reason why everything works the way it does and you are where you are, can't matter at all if you haven't played the first one. So I don't understand being able to come at that series in the middle of it. That's not something you
It's
could
kind of
do
like I
that
did
to.
with Resident Evil. Because remember, the first Resident Evil game I ever played was Code Veronica. And I went backwards from that, and I still love
Those
the
stories
series
stand
today.
alone a lot more than Mass Effect does, though.
So it's because it's all really heavily story based on that one. And then, okay,
Yeah.
I can see it that way then.
Assassin's Creed 3 is the worst video game ever made. It is. It was disappointing in every aspect. Its performance was horrible. It was a terrifically ugly game. It had an obnoxious... The protagonist was boring to the point of being obnoxious. He was so soulless that he became evil. It was horrifying. Having to tear apart what had been in the past a really interesting progression of like an honestly pretty garbage narrative about like spooky secret society stuff and the historical nature of any particular setting or time period or something like that. It all went out the window just so they could be cute. Just so they could do something cute. They didn't commit themselves to finishing a story. And they had already dragged us along for 2 previous full releases, whether they had whole numbers
Doing
after them or
a
not.
fat lot of nothing.
Yeah, it didn't matter. They left you dangling from a hook at the end of 2.
Mm-hmm.
I loved 1.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. I have never even, I don't argue against them, but I have never even understood the arguments against it. Everybody jumps at it and says it's repetitive, but the way that they accuse its repetition is the thing that I think makes the game strong. It was about being an assassin. That's what it was about. You didn't do anything else. You didn't go out and, skin civets or something. I don't know. You didn't, collect animal parts. You didn't chop down trees. You didn't have a farm. You didn't play a real-time strategy game or a tower defense game. You didn't do any of that stuff. You killed bad guys. You killed people. You were an assassin, and that's all you did. And the whole game was about doing it as best you could. It was about getting all the information you could. It was a thoughtful, not intellectual, but it was more of a cerebral game.
I don't even think you didn't even upgrade in that game, did you? In Assassin's Creed 1, you didn't.
All of your upgrades were tied to progress through the story because you'd been stripped of your position.
Right. That's right.
And you were slowly allowed back into you were slowly allowed to earn your place again.
Yeah, okay.
And you were given more and more information over time about the truth of matters. And yes, you were doing the same thing over and over again, but at its time, it was a pretty unprecedented game. It was a ridiculously unprecedented game. The fact that they made something like that at the scale that they did, the idea was super interesting and the execution was great. I understand if you didn't really like it, but the repetition was what made it so strong. And it's the one thing that the series has completely gotten rid of. The assassinations.
Mm-hmm.
The nature of being the sharp point of the sword in a secret war. And that's what made it so strong. 2 was a better game. It was a far, far better game. And the only thing that I could accuse 2 of is just not having enough directed assassinations.
Yeah.
That
was our big complaint when we talked about it afterwards was the assassinations they were not the same as in 1 as far as the way that you could go about them, I believe.
You didn't have to spend a lot of time planning your assassination.
No, you just went and did it.
In 1, everything you did was about the moment of the assassination
right.
and leading up to that.
You had to hit
that.
other places around town to get the intel.
Right.
To find out where he's going to be, what's he going to be doing.
What are the escape routes going to be?
All this
If you
stuff,
do this thing and find out the information, you can reduce the number of guards present at the scene.
Yeah.
Right. And it was really, really good for what it was. And I do understand the change for 2. I understand it. And it was a better game all the way around. But at that moment, they decided that making a better game wasn't good enough. Mm-hmm. Making the same game over and over again was what they wanted to do. And that's fine. I could let them do it. I could let them get away with Brotherhood, and I could let them get away with Revelations if it meant that I actually was going to get...
At some point, the story moved forward.
Right,
yeah.
or if they were just going to take all these loose events and nail them to the floor. But it took them so long to do it, so long, that the critical points of the story in Brotherhood and Revelations just cease to have any coherent meaning whatsoever. So then you get into 3... And I'm telling you, at every point they could have decided to do something in that game, they made the wrong choice. It should have been a better game by accident. But I feel like some malicious hand went into that game and did the wrong thing every time. The way they changed the combat, the way they changed the narrative, the reason they chose the protagonist they did, the desire to tell a story set in the American Revolution meant putting setting and narrative ahead of gameplay. All of those things, it was terrible. It's just dreadful. It's just one of the most... And now where are we, We're
not... From what I can tell...
I haven't played 4.
Exactly, but from what I can tell, it's just... we're just going to forget this. I don't know about Assassin's Creed 4. I'm not exactly sure how that whole thing works, but it seems to have deviated completely from anything of what 1, 2, and even 3 was trying to do as far as that story was concerned. And it's like, we're just going to... All that stuff is... This is a dividing point, is what I'm saying. It feels like it's a dividing point. There was 1, 2, and 3, and now it's going to be whatever comes after that is going to have a disassociation in name only type of situation.
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like. I'm still going for the PC on that. You're going PS4?
I don't know.
You
I don't know.
Okay.
I'll jump one way or the other when it gets here. Probably PS4. I don't care enough
Yeah.
about it, and I'd certainly like to see how it looks and plays on the PS4. Give me something to play
Mm-hmm.
over there. But at this point, the best I can hope for is that it's barely associated with what once was a really good storyline. But there is a time, I mean, we mentioned this earlier, there was a time when I felt exactly the same way about Resident Evil. There was a story there once.
Mm-hmm.
There was a strong narrative. There was a real thread running through all those games. There was the evil Umbrella Corporation, and there were a small band of people who all started out at the Raccoon City Police Department, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
And everything tied through that, and all the characters kind of went in opposite directions, trying to find out what was needed in order to take down Umbrella. And then eventually it just all came unspooled, and it just became silly and ridiculous. And that's fine. Shooting zombies is almost always fun, but there was a story there, and there was something there worth following, worth caring about, in addition to the good gameplay. And then they just abandoned it. They left it. This is what you get. This is what you reap from a series.
Mm-hmm.
When it becomes more important to sell the series than it is to actually tell the story. I mean, Mass Effect 3 is an excellent example. I wasn't in the camp of people who thought that there was anything bad about that, but not necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
I was okay. I was mollified by the ending that they gave us, but I don't know. This is what happens. They still couldn't finish the story in any definitive way. They still had to leave more question marks because what if? What if we need more money later?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're going to need more money.
Hey, let me ask you this about Resident Evil. At what point in the series did it start to unspool, like you said earlier?
Code Veronica was the last possible moment when the story could have gone in a particular direction. And then what came...
Yeah, at Code Veronica, I remember feeling a little weird that they were going the direction they were instead of going the direction I thought they should have been going.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there was still a chance for it to get back on
Yep.
track. And then when 4 came out, it's like, oh, you're just
you're
just
done.
not interested at all.
We don't. There's no
anymore.
more T-virus. There's no more T-virus. There's like whatever that, like indigestion or whatever they had in 4.
Mhm.
Four was the GameCube one. When
Yes.
Yeah. And see, here's the thing.
Yeah.
It was a magnificent game.
Mm-hmm.
It was beautiful. It played brilliantly. It never stopped giving. Every time you thought you were about to be done, you got to play even more. It was surprisingly good looking. The animations were incredible. The weapons were fun. The attacks were good. It made all the right choices about the gameplay of Resident Evil 4, and the story wasn't even bad.
But if you hold it under the umbrella of Resident Evil as a series,
Yeah, it left me, man. It left me hanging. It left me high and dry, waiting for something to happen. I would say the last moment the Resident Evil story was cohesive was the opening cinematic of Code Veronica.
Mm.
And everything, and Code Veronica, this was the thing about it. They were all fantastic. We used to have this argument all the time. Which one is the best? They were all the best. Every Resident Evil, up to and including 4, was the best Resident Evil when looked at in a very particular light. But I don't know. I'm digressing crazily here because that wasn't even this generation. Any of them that happened this generation were just...
it was 5 and 6.
It
Really.
was just piles of crap.
Well, 5, 6, and then Operation Raccoon
Who
City.
even
And all
cares?
this
Nobody
other
cares.
Stuff. Yeah.
Nobody cares anymore. It's may as well be anything but Resident Evil anymore.
Yeah.
I was fine with 5, but 6, I couldn't get myself to play that one either.
Yeah.
Started 2, but then it was just...
I would say 5 was an enormous disappointment, getting back on track with the original question.
Mm-hmm.
Resident Evil 5 was an opportunity to really, let's just take a pause. Let's take a moment and do a new Resident Evil for a new generation of gaming and hardware. And it was just... oh, God, it was just miserable for me. It was just such a miserable game. I couldn't stand it. That definitely goes in the disappointment pile.
Ian Angus in the Facebook or thread there said that games of this generation, my favorite has to be Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Cracking single player with some unforgettable levels, innovative multiplayer, which was the largest step forward in the genre on consoles this generation. Justifiably popular, its sequels and many other games rely on the structure that it established. His biggest disappointment was for him Brutal Legend. It was a complete mismatch between theme and gameplay.
It really
Right.
was. I remember that. That was a big letdown. A couple other letdowns. Crackdown 2.
Yeah, big letdown
Yep.
compared to Crackdown 1.
Reused
And-
almost all the assets from the original Crackdown.
Crackdown 1 was one of the greatest
And
surprises.
it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And in the same vein, Infamous 1 was one of my favorite games
Yeah.
of this generation, and Infamous 2 was one of my biggest
And
disappointments.
And see, I feel exactly the same way, and they are both games I desperately wanted a sequel to.
Right.
But I feel like neither one was intended to have a real sequel. They left you hanging just enough to believe that there was an intention
right.
to
right.
continue the story, but they didn't really want to do it. And so by the time they gave in to the pressure from the enthusiast crowd, from the fans, there just really wasn't anything there. You should have just left it. That's something that I've learned. It's an expensive lesson, but sometimes I think things are just best left unmolested. You know, yes, maybe it deserved a sequel, but just leave it. Just stop. For that reason, I'm kind of apprehensive about Mirror's Edge 2.
Yeah.
You know, it's a game that deserves to be done a little bit better, although it was fantastic. I loved it. Had problems, but I loved it.
Yeah.
And it deserves a sequel for a lot of reasons, but just
Are you scared the sequel will come out and it'll look like a money grab more than a actual expansion?
I mean, look at how
What-
many
what was
how
one?
many games we've been really like, oh, I really want to play that again in a sequel type sense, and it's given that to us, but it's failed on that. I mean, we just brought up Crackdown 2 and Infamous 2 and that sort of thing. Games are like, this would be great. Let's do it again if they can get it right or that sort of thing, and then they release it and it kind of it falters, and then you kind of have that bad taste in your mouth of, yeah, we should have left this as it was. It's like that sense of not sense, but that whole tale of like, hey, I want my dog back because he died, but then he comes back and he's all disfigured and whatever else. It's like, well, you got your wish.
Well,
You got what you wanted.
it's the monkey's
Monkey's
paw.
paw.
The monkey's
It's the
paw.
monkey's
That's what I was
paw.
trying to think of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to be careful
Yeah.
because it's going to come back a dead thing with half its face falling off. You know?
And so, yeah, that's a legitimate concern.
Or
for
it's going to
Mirror's
kill
Edge
your
2.
dog
Yeah.
on the way back. You have to be careful about those things. I think in a lot of instances, some games really should just be left perfectly alone.
Always leave them wanting more.
Obviously, Uncharted series is going to be up there for me, and that was a good
Well,
one.
what about within that? I mean, what
Right within it? It would go
Was 3 a disappointment to you at all?
as compared to 2. Yes, you know, two seems to be up at the top on that for me. Just that seemed to maybe because that was not really the first time, but maybe because it gave me those set pieces for the very first time. Because I was kind of expecting them in 3 of like,
if
okay, what are you
Elena
gonna
just
do?
hadn't been wearing those same clothes at the end, man, it would have been top notch for me. But I just can't. I'm sorry. I'm not going to go out of my way to do it any favors.
No, it would go 2. It may go 2, 3, 1 for me as far as like what I enjoyed the best. 2, 3,
2,
and
3,
1.
1? Really?
I don't know.
Interesting. I never did get around to playing 3,
Oh,
but between 1 and 2, I still think 1 is my favorite.
yeah.
1 had a charm. 1
Yeah,
had
it
like
did.
jank and funk that had kind of been dispelled by the time 2 came along. Plorch makes a very apt description in the chat room. He says Uncharted 2 equals Empire Strikes Back, which is very, very true. And Uncharted 1 very much equals A New Hope. It was an untested idea. It was a relatively fresh take on things that had already existed. You know, Tomb Raider existed, but Uncharted 1 came along and did some things in a very particular way that excited us, the way the Tomb Raider hadn't in ages. You know, Star Wars was doing Flash Gordon. You know, just more so and better. So
In
it
a
was perfected a little bit.
In a
but-
similar vein, Portal 1 and Portal 2. Portal 1 was, charming
you know
and
what?
janky and
Yeah.
very low budget, and then Portal 2 came along with its huge budget, smoothed out all the rough edges, and presented a big experience, but it was never quite...
It didn't have the same personality. Portal 1, now that you mention that, I see no reason not to give Portal 1 the best surprise, not most anticipated or anything like that. I didn't anticipate
Didn't
it
even
at
know
all.
Came
it.
completely
I was like,
out of
no.
nowhere.
Well, there's this extra crap in
Yeah,
in the orange box, right? I saw a video once where a turret just kind of goes up and down in a portal, I guess, forever. I suppose there's a whole game there. I don't know.
That was really weird to me coming in to the studio that day because I
Yeah.
hadn't played anything in the orange box yet. I hadn't gotten it, and I came in.
He had only done it
and
like
just-
minutes before.
Yeah,
James had.
and all of a sudden, everything in this room was about Portal. And
Yeah.
what is Portal?
What happened?
Why is
I went to
everybody
the can,
talking
I
about
come
this?
back, and the whole world's about something new. What's going on here?
And next thing we were lining up interviews with Jonathan Colton and
Ellen McLean.
Ellen McLean. I'm like,
Yeah.
I have no idea what's going on. I've got to go home and play this.
That was fun.
That was, yeah.
That was fun. That was fun in trying to get both of those people on the
Yeah.
same night. And yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed that. But yeah,
That
Portal-
doesn't happen very often.
No.
I feel sorry for anyone that didn't experience that, for any gamer who didn't experience that. It's almost unheard of to collectively experience a surprise
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't ever really happen. You might not be tuned into something that turns out to be really, really good. You might have been dismissing it because you misunderstood its aim or its intention or its overall quality.
Right.
But nobody, I'm sure some you out there somewhere, yes, you knew how amazing it was before anybody else, but really nobody did. Nobody had their eye on that. I mean, we kind of had a concept of it, but not that, not a 2.5 hour long game that was going to change pretty much everything we thought about game design, or at least how we looked at it
Yeah.
for a while.
A 2.5 hour long game packaged in with a game for both of you,
Right.
At least, had already. Seriously, what was in the orange box for you guys? And I'm pointing to James and Jeremy specifically from having played Half-Life 2 on the PC, having already played the expansion.
Well, it had
Team Fortress 2.
It had Team Fortress 2. I mean,
Which-
do you have any idea? Don't look at me with your I never really played PC games in the 90s face. Do you have any idea how long we'd been waiting for Team Fortress 2?
No, I don't.
200 years.
No, I didn't. I really, honestly, Team Fortress 2 did not. I was like, I don't know what this is. I don't know. I didn't know.
It doesn't even resemble any. It doesn't, like, literally, not, like 12 years or something, I wanted it so bad. I wanted it so desperately. And it was actually an enormous disappointment for me. Mm-hmm. I don't understand how people like that game. It's stupid. I hate it. It's nothing like what I wanted. I wanted something, and what I wanted was better. I promise you. The thing in my head was a lot better than all of these, It's so much better. It's so much better. Because all of my desires for what Team Fortress 2 should have been and what it might have been at one point in time was like the perfect blending of something like Day of Defeat and Firearms.
Mm-hmm.
And these were all, Firearms was a mod for the original Half-Life that was spectacular. It was really, really good. And they borrowed a lot of those elements. And actually modern online FPSs borrow an awful lot from it. Battlefield shares more than a passing resemblance to some of the things that were in the old Firearms mod. But I didn't want it to be what it is. I didn't want it to work the way it is, and I've never been able to click with it. I hate all the classes. I hate everything in it. Nothing suits my play style. And it's stupid because everybody plays it. And I suck at it. That's mostly why it's stupid. I've never been able to play good.
You were talking about Portal where you would, Jeremy had said something like he'd never really seen how that would work before the Portal situation had worked. And that reminded me that Prey was still one of these current generation type things, was doing the Portal situation in a sense.
Prey was kind of good.
Never finished it.
Prey was kind of cool.
I think I bought the game twice and I never finished it.
You don't even have to finish it.
Yeah.
Prey is about being on an Indian reservation and hearing "Don't Fear the Reaper"
during
an alien abduction. Like that moment, that's one of my favorite gaming moments of the last generation. And then digging, my way through the bunghole of some alien ship, listening to Art Bell come over the intercepted coast-to-coast transmission. It was a pretty surreal game.
Yeah.
I thought it was really, really cool. And if you looked at it in light of the fact that it had been in development for ages, because it was a relic, right? It came out in 2005 or 6? It was early 360.
Yeah.
Right? So
Probably 6, I think.
2006, I think. But it had been in development and planning for so long. It really resembled a lot of the games that we played in the 90s, and you could see a lot of the design elements that had been prominent, 10 years earlier. If that game had come out, just a few years before it did, I think it would have been much loved, or at least well respected. But it was cool. It was better than people gave it credit for being. I think they didn't like the Native American thing.
Do you remember? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I didn't actually say anything,
somebody was saying something.
But something that was a big surprise this generation to me was Just Cause 2.
Yeah. I didn't even play that on the console.
You didn't?
No. I only played it on the PC. Never played it on the
Why
console.
would you play Just Cause on the 2, right?
At first, I thought he was going to end with I didn't play that.
Oh,
but
no.
yeah,
I know he
that's
did.
Fine. Yeah.
I know he did, because Superman mod.
Yeah, no kidding. Superman mod, and built a rig that could run it, and at the time it was like, oh, this game's really pretty if you can get everything running at the max settings on it, and it's just fun to do. But yeah, Superman mod or DeLorean will get me to buy your game, or at least play it a little bit.
Crisis, I don't know if I want to. DeLorean mod.
Yeah.
Just Cause 2, I don't know. Whoa, Superman mod. I'm there.
I'm in it.
There's DeLorean achievement. I'm in.
Oh, totally. Totally. That was great. It was great. Do you remember the first game that you played in this generation? The first game that you played on a PS3? I'm looking at RJ when I ask this.
Trying to think now. Going through the collection in my head right now.
And the reason you bought your system?
Blu-ray.
Okay. Specifically for you is why I was asking.
Yeah, Blu-ray player, basically. The Club. The Club was one of the first titles I played on the PS3.
Who was that?
Crystal Dynamics.
That's right. Yeah, I was like,
Dynamics.
that's a familiar developer, but I couldn't remember the name there. But yeah, The Club, huh?
Very fun, interesting race. It was basically a combination of a shooter and a race. Basically, you had to get from point A to point B, taking out as many enemies as you could without dying. So there was no reason for you to take cover or strategize your plan. You just had to get there as quick as you could, and that's how you get the most points to unlock other levels in the game.
Yeah. If you don't count the Xbox Live Arcade or the PlayStation Network, with the free stuff that they would give you from there, the first game that I played on the 360 was Cameo. And the first game I played on the PS3 was Heavenly Sword, I think. Because I did not play, what was the dragon game?
Lair.
Lair. I did not play Lair. And that one and Heavenly Sword were like the big launch titles for that system at the time. And so Heavenly Sword was the first game I played on the PS3, and Cameo was the first game I played on the Xbox 360. So everyone's first game they played on the 360 was Halo 2, says Gersnord. What else did we have this generation?
Well, there was
a lot,
all
obviously.
of the Bethesda RPGs, which were really big for me. From Oblivion, Fallout 3, New Vegas, and
Oblivion
Skyrim.
was 360. You're right. Yeah. That was one of the big launch. Of course, Horse Armor. Yeah, to go back to that.
Come a long way from Horse Armor.
Yeah, we have.
Fallout 3 was a surprise to me. I've never played any of the other Fallouts. The first one I had was 3. Really surprised with how much I enjoyed that game too.
Did you play New Vegas?
I did play New Vegas. Love that one as well.
And you said you don't really have a disappointment, though.
Well, we were talking about, me and James were talking about earlier, the only disappointment I really have is not being able to get a sequel to one of my favorites, Bayonetta, because that's on Wii U. And now that I think about it, Killer Instinct as well, because I can't see myself dropping $500 for one title, no matter how much I like fighting games. I can't.
Hey, but it's free.
It's not the system.
No, it's not. The game apparently is free with that one character that'll
the
rotate
game-
in and out.
The game is free and unfinished, and it's not going to be until around March. Until I think it'll be finished in March. I'm not sure about that either. But yeah, can't see myself spending $500 for that.
Yeah.
Probably just go to a tournament and have someone play it on someone else's system.
I think the Wii may have been my biggest disappointment this generation.
There's a good point. An actual console in the generation being your biggest disappointment. You know what? I'd probably sit there with you too. I don't even have mine anymore.
There were several games I was looking forward to initially. Twilight Princess, I was disappointed. Punch Out, I was disappointed.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people who are like really happy with their Wii and their Wii U as well, but it just never stuck with me. It never it never held me. And I found that I purchased obviously more games on the other two systems or the PC more than I did the Wii at all. So many other titles where it was if it was multi-platform, obviously, I didn't want to get it on the Wii because of the controls. I felt better with the controls being used on the other two systems. If it was an exclusive, it just never... I never had the enthusiasm of, oh, that's going to be great. I can't wait to play that. Like you said, Punch-Out was one of those for you, but it was disappointing. You were disappointed in it. So, anyway, lots of great talk here. We've got to take another break, top of the hour. When we come back, more of In-Game Chat. We'll be right back. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. Music there from Ghost Recon. Another great one that sold us on the idea of the systems and the multiplayer, because I know there was a time early on in the 360's release, James and I would be out and about doing whatever, talking about something, and you'd be telling me about a guy at work that you know or a guy in your guild on WoW. It's like, hey, yeah, we're doing Ghost Recon on the 360. You should go get it. And then they would get it, and we'd try and get on. And of course, we'd have our network issues.
Yeah, there were dark times actually in the first couple of years of live.
There was, and at times have persisted. But we got another comment from Ian Angus in the Facebook chat there that said you could talk about whether or not you think this will be the last ever home console generation, as some people are speculating. Personally, that I think due to insurmountable physical barriers and the need for quick response times for many gamers, there will always be a need for local storage and processing. We've talked about this.
Which way do I want to go? Whatever I say, I'll be wrong about in about another 5 years. I would say that you're probably right. The pace of change is pretty quick, but the pace of supplanting older technology with new technology isn't, if that makes any sense. Yeah. There were times when we thought the desktop was dead and everything was going to be replaced by laptops. Right now, everybody seems to think the PC is dead and is going to be replaced by mobile. But none of that really seems to happen. And like in this case of being able to just stream everything, nothing but off-site, online, cloud-based gaming and things like that, that's going to get better. That's going to get a lot faster. The responsiveness is going to get a lot better. But it is going to be hard to beat local access and local storage. You just can't. He's right about that. Physics sort of dictates that that's always going to be easier and faster to access no matter what. So, and it's cheaper in certain respects, or it becomes cheaper, I guess, after a long enough time.
Yeah.
Consoles aren't particularly cheap things at the beginning, but they
become
commodity eventually.
Looking at the Black Friday deals now, and I understand Black Friday's a situation of, one day out of the year type of situation, but the discounts aren't that big for some of these consoles. $300 for a PS3 with two very recent games.
Really?
Arkham City and Last of Us.
Well, that's $120 worth of game,
yeah.
but still. I don't know. I have no idea what current stuff costs. I have absolutely no idea the price of current generation hardware. Aren't they giving those away now?
Yeah, I know. Well, there's the big trade-in tomorrow. Are you going to be taking advantage of that?
I don't know, man. Like, I didn't get the details on what exactly it is, and I'm sort of suspicious of it.
Yeah. What we're talking about is GameStop, and again, check your store. I don't necessarily know that this is all over the place, but I think it is. But tomorrow, GameStop is doing 90% trade-in on hardware.
Okay.
So if you take your old systems, hardware only though. So, and this includes cell phones and tablets.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd take anything. You'll get 90% of you, but this is only applied towards the pre-order of a PS4.
Okay.
And it's only going on tomorrow. Kind of help some of the cost, but I know we were talking about it, and you were going to go up there and kind of get some more details on how that whole thing's going to work.
Right. I wanted to get the trade-in numbers. I wanted to see
Yeah.
what they were offering for, the PS3.
I'd like to know,
Or
curious
for other
myself.
hardware or some other things to see if it's actually worth it, how much it could carve off the
Yeah.
price of a...
Don't play my DS
of the
anymore, so
pre-order.
I could take that back up there.
Mhm.
I don't know where my PSP is, but if I could find it, probably take it back up
Yeah,
there.
it's really tempting because even the cheaper system that's, $400, nothing to shake a stick at. So
Yeah.
I don't know, but their values, their trade-in values, even with an additional 90% on top of it, is still pretty insulting sometimes.
It can be.
You know?
Mhm.
And I don't want to let go of my old things just, I'm just going to be scraping by anyway.
Yeah.
I don't
The
necessarily
only
want to
time,
let go of my old
I did a huge gathering of all my stuff, and I took it up to GameStop and was like, I just want to trade this in. I didn't want to trade it in because I'm a trade-in kind of guy. I was wanting to, because it was like, all it's going to do is sit here. I'm not doing anything with it.
Yeah, that's true.
It would be an amazing amount of time consumption for me to like list these on eBay and go through the process of selling these for probably exactly what GameStop's going to give me for them because of how old they were. So, $10 here, $5 there, that sort of thing. So I was like, you know what? You're more convenient. I'm going to take them in, trade them, get my credit, and go from there. So, and that's exactly what I did with a lot of my stuff. But normally, no, I'm not the kind of guy that takes my stuff in and trades it. I'm the kind of guy that puts it either back in the box or leaves it out, still hooked up to the system. I can't do that with the way my setup is now. So most of the stuff will go back in the box and sit there, with the exception of I'm at a kind of a predicament on my PS3 because my Walking Dead save is on there. And
I see.
Oh,
Season 2's coming out,
Yeah.
I believe before the end of the year, the first episode, and my save is on that system. So I'm kind of curious.
You have it on the PC?
I do have it on the PC. I haven't played it through on the PC.
Yeah.
So my
Just
decisions
keep
aren't
that
there.
in mind.
Yeah, I know, and I kind of want to shift that over, and I may do that if I can remember the choices we made in that game for when it comes.
Right.
Again, not sure how it's gonna do this. That'll be interesting to see. So of how that whole thing's gonna work, but from what I understand, it won't. Your save's not gonna carry over. Haven't got anything official on that, but I'm pretty sure. So, what else from this current generation was a surprise? Like a legitimate, just kind of a surprise for what we expected or what we played. God, I remember being excited to play table tennis. See, maybe the question isn't what is a surprise, but what are some of the dumb purchases you make looking back? Because it was the only thing there, in a sense. Table tennis, man.
Yeah.
Rockstar, this is
Yeah.
it. This is what they can do. They can put their logo on a
On
game
table tennis.
and sell
And
it.
sell that.
It's amazing. So yeah, table tennis was one of the ones that I bought. I actually did end up owning the Burger King games
Oh, right.
when they
Yeah.
did that. And I think I still have. No, I tried to return those. I don't think they would take them. Like, we're not taking those in.
I
We'll
got rid of
take
those
them,
somehow.
but we're not giving you credit
Yeah.
for them anymore. Oh, there's Matt in the chat room. Dumb purchases for me? Aliens, Colonial Marines.
That was like 5 minutes ago. You don't have any. There's no excuse for that. We sat in this studio and we talked about it, and Scott and I both looked at you like you were dumb when you said that you were going to buy it. And Scott makes terrible purchasing decisions.
I do. But you beat me. At least in that one instance. Yeah, he's like, yeah. So we really look forward to you coming back.
I look
Matt.
forward to all the dumb purchasing decisions you're going to make in the next gen.
He's got a PS4 pre-ordered and paid for, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I know that he had one pre-ordered. I don't know if he's following through with it.
Yeah.
A lot of people seem to be getting cold feet. And are
There
kind of-
is, man. I follow that buy, sell, and trade thread on Gaff, and man, every couple of posts, there's somebody else. Hey, do you want my Xbox One system from Amazon? I can switch the address over to you. My PS4 system, I can switch the address over to you. Selling it at cost, not trying to make a profit on it.
Right.
Just trying to get rid of it. I don't exactly know. They don't give any reasons as to why they want to do this. They just want to get rid of it. So it's interesting to see them taking that stance. You were on the fence a few times.
Yeah.
But have decided to.
The only reason I think I'm going to follow through with it is, I've never bought a console at launch, at all. When I was a kid, I always got them, the Christmas after they released.
Mm-hmm.
As an adult, I just thought, there's not really anything here for me to play, or there've been a couple times when I couldn't afford it. The PS2 was like that for me. I think that would have been a really good thing to pick up day one. I would have enjoyed it a lot. I think it was a really good system for the time. But yeah, I've been on the fence. I'm just terrified that there's going to be something interesting. I don't even know what. I have no idea. Like there's some big surprise. Like The Last Guardian is somehow going to come out next month. But it's something that some part of the experience, some aspect of it is going to be just super interesting, and I will have had the opportunity to be a part of it, but didn't because I don't really. I don't know. I'm going to need one eventually, so there's that, and there are a lot of rumors about availability as well, and they are just rumors. But if any of those rumors turn out to be true, it's going to be a minute before you can get a hold of one.
Yeah,
not like years, but weeks and weeks and weeks.
It's going to be the typical situation of a new console release where it becomes the big thing for the holidays type of situation. I mean, okay, I'll give you a perfect example. Radio station where we are.
Uh-huh.
The guys downstairs, the FM, well, we're FM as well, but the music FM guys downstairs, their big Christmas giveaways when these things have happened have always been, hey, we got a Wii, we're going to give it away, and people
Right.
would want to win those things, especially when the Wii was in high demand. I remember us doing it for the PS2. I remember us doing it for the PS3 and the 360 as well, doing Christmas giveaway type stuff, and it was just, we had to go out of our way to get those things too, to get them in stock here. So, yeah, it's gonna happen the same way that it's happened every time a new console release. It's gonna be a big demand for it, and you either have one or you're willing to pay a lot of money for one, or you're gonna be willing to wait.
Yeah.
One way or the other is the way that'll go for you. So,
Nab asked a decent question. Nabokov asked if someone asks you what console do you get right now, what do you tell them? What is your recommendation and why? I can tell you that out of the three things you listed, the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, or PC, I don't recommend PC gaming.
PC is not. I'll tell you, anybody that asks you that question, PC is not on their mind.
Well, even if it was, I don't ever recommend it. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever go to it's very rare that I talk to somebody and say, like, you should totally build a PC, because, I'm surrounded in professional life by people who use PCs but aren't themselves interested in them.
Mm-hmm.
It never turns out very good. PC gaming is more than just another platform to play games on. It in my opinion, requires... It doesn't require that you be very good at them. It requires that you be interested in knowing about them. They're finicky machines, It's like owning an Italian car or something. Like, they're real curmudgeonly, and they're real particular, and you don't just let them sit there and do their job. You know, they're liable to break if you leave them alone, or if you don't know what you're doing, they're liable to break if you try to do something.
Yeah.
If you don't leave them alone. I don't like supporting them. I don't like watching what happens when most people have a PC and don't know what to do with it. So I just don't ever recommend it, even though I think it's the best of the three by a mile.
Well, and just to chime in no small part, because if you're the guy that recommends somebody gets in on PC gaming and they have problems with their PC, you're the guy they're going to bring it to.
Yeah, you're the mechanic.
And I do quite enough of that in my day job. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even tell people I know anything about PCs anymore. I don't know. I have no idea. But you work in IT. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird,
It
man.
has nothing to do with computers.
No, I read from script. I don't know. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Well, then, okay, given that, what do you do? PS4, Xbox One, what do you tell them?
How do you not recommend the PS4? It's cheaper. It's $100 cheaper.
I had the same question. Doe downstairs.
Yeah.
Asked me just last week. He was saying, "Hey, what's going?" He wasn't even paying attention to it. And I said, "Well, new consoles release." He's like, "Oh, that's right. That's this year. Which one's the one to get, man? Which one should I get?" I was like, "Well, PS4 right now is edging out everything else. When it comes to quality, at the time we didn't have this whole resolution situation, but over time I've been able to tell him, I was like, well, so far this is what the games that have been released and that people are talking about. They're running at this resolution, and it's not quite doing as great on the Xbox One. And it didn't really matter to him too much until I got to the price, and I said, right now." This, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm getting a PlayStation 4."
Yeah.
I said, "You pre-order one?" He's like, "No, I'll just walk in and get it." He's like, "I should be able to get one."
Yeah. Oh yeah, okay.
So
you're gonna walk in next year, right?
yeah, really. But no, that's where he sits. A guy who didn't know between the two and just took my advice on it as far as what I know, or really not necessarily what I know, but just what has been released so far as to why this one's better for you. And I also asked him, I was like, "Man, do you have any particular games that you really are looking forward to? Because obviously they've got some exclusives."
And it matters. It matters a little bit.
And he was like, "Nope, I want to play COD. I want to play Ghosts." And I said,
Yeah.
"All right, man,
All right,
you're
buy
fun.
PS4.
You're fun."
If you're looking for the lowest barrier of entry into the next generation, $400 for the PS4. If you are interested in what the Xbox is doing, I have no problem recommending it. I wouldn't. I would never necessarily steer somebody away. It always depends on the person who's asking. If I get like the vibe from you that you don't care one way or the other about which one is more powerful, then hey man, whatever, it's fine. It's fine. You can buy the Xbox. It's going to do some things that the PS4 won't do. It's going to be more interesting in certain ways. Some point down the line, it may actually have a couple of games that are better and might make it worth it, but I don't know. Not knowing anything else about this theoretical person asking the question, PS4.
Yeah.
It's more power for less money.
Same
And
way.
that may even be an accident, That may turn out, when we know more information about the past, that was just an accident.
Another good question: do you own a Vita?
That is a good question.
Got some nice, nice connections.
Are you tired of not having Windows 8 in more places in your life? You should definitely get an Xbox One. Do you want everything in your house to be covered in tiles?
Yeah.
In interactive tiles? That's the real question.
Yeah, that 1 versus 100 brought up in the chat room there. 1 versus 100 was a pretty cool experiment. It was, and then
wasn't it?
Yes, I really enjoyed that.
I did too.
I
think pretty much everybody did, which it pretty much explains why it's not around anymore, right?
You guys like that? Nope, kill it. Guys, this is getting too popular.
It's like
We
a
need to do
Google
something about
product
this.
or something,
Yeah, 1 versus 100 was great. I remember, Xbox Live Arcade was great for the longest time because I know that all of us with the console would get in there and play. That was how we devised how we were going to become Evil Avatar Radio at the time.
Oh, that's true.
We got into a party chat in
Yeah.
Bomberman and was talking to Phil
Yeah,
Kohler
yeah.
and was like, okay, this is what we're going to do, blah, blah, and, went over the whole thing. We would have meetings about the show through Xbox Live Arcade.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, Party Chat wasn't around at the time. You had to go into a game
Yeah.
in order to talk to each
Which
other.
is why we use Bomberman. It's something everybody had.
Yeah, and you could have a bunch of people in there, more than just 4.
Yeah, it was like eight person limit, right?
Yeah, something like that. So, God, I remember doing that. Yeah, good. Some great times, and then some bad ones as well. With again going back to the connectivity issues and everything that was, and the PS3 to even go in about its online components of stuff at its beginnings. And even today, I really haven't played much online with that thing at all. I mean, even now.
It's fully capable. It's just
It is.
You're living with the stigma of 5 years ago. You're living with the memory of what it couldn't do. Has nothing to do with what it can do right now. That may actually be the best thing about these new systems, is that where we've come in the last 6 years, how far we've come, where we started, the perception was they were still mostly just stupid boxes, stupid little devices that played games off of a disc, and that's all they ever could do. And there are people that still treat their consoles that way. That's perfectly fine. As long as they can do those things, then you can treat it however much like that you want. But they're not that anymore. So knowing that both of them will be on equal footing, where chat and internet and online and connectivity and apps and all of that garbage is concerned, is probably really good. It's for the best for everybody concerned, I think.
Gersnort reminds us that the PS3 used to have update after update after update for the system. Early on in school, you could not turn on the machine without getting a prompt to have to update your system. And it would take quite a while to do that as well. Plorch makes a good thing. PS Plus plus Vita Remote Play do build a strong case for the PS4. I meant to say that just while we were outside before you guys got here. I was talking to Doe about the purchase, and that's when he was telling me, I can just walk in and get it. And he's like, so I'm really excited to get one, but they're doing that Xbox Live thing. I got to pay the $50, and that was before I could go into it because you guys showed up. But to tell him, I was like,
you couldn't really make the case for PS
I was like,
Plus.
that's not that bad of a deal, man. So, and much less bring up the fact of the Vita. He doesn't have one, but he likes good looking tech. He would jump in on that, I believe. So. But yeah, that's something else to go with it. Anyway, we're going to take our last break of the hour, and when we come back, we will have more of In-Game Chat. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. Music there from Rainbow Six 3. Which one was that? Was that Rainbow Six Vegas?
It was the third one.
Yeah, it was the third one. That's what I thought. Was that Vegas, or was there actual Rainbow Six 3 and then there was Rainbow Six Vegas?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Which was the one you could put your face in?
That was
Vegas.
Okay, Vegas. That's the one I remember.
You scan your face with the doofy little Xbox camera.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't really work.
Took you 45 minutes to make something horrible that had some kind of vague...
They make you look like a dog's behind.
Really?
Which is surprising because you actually try to scan a dog's behind. It doesn't work.
I remember that was when we played with Kevin, though.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he put his face in it. I know I put mine in there.
Yours had that big goofy grin on it.
Of course it
Well,
did.
his face has that big goofy grin on it. So... Yep.
Yeah, Gur, you're exactly right on what that was on the multiplayer.
So much wang face.
Wang face, exactly. Thanks. I was trying to find a word. Anyway, welcome back to the show, our last segment of the show, our last segment of current generation show
Right.
stuff, you know? I mean, there's still, are you at all interested? You're a Gran Turismo guy. You're all interested in 6?
I'm not a Gran Turismo guy.
Well, out of all of us, you are.
I'm not. It doesn't work that way. I haven't been a Gran Turismo guy since GT2, really. I've liked them and I've kind of played them and checked them out, but I'm not really interested in or dedicated to it.
It's funny when I look at Redbox to see what games are coming up. There's like Adventure Time and Gran Turismo. That's it.
Yeah.
It's just so sparse. It's like I know it'll fill up because I know that they were one of the people that were very adamant about the whole situation that Xbox wasn't going to allow rented games, and Redbox was like, "That's fine. We're going to stick with PS4." This is before they did the whole change, but Redbox said, "Yeah, we'll be happy to rent games for the PlayStation 4." They haven't shown up in any of the boxes yet, or even in the coming soon list, which is why I'm still looking at GameFly as to, hey, when are you going to send over my games for the PlayStation 4? I don't necessarily know. I want a game to play, but I don't necessarily know that I want to buy what's out there at the moment. So yeah, I will have. Obviously, I'll have the free games that come with my PS Plus subscription.
Yeah.
Sure.
And anything else that I'm really interested in on the PlayStation Network to play. But I don't think any of those really account for being next gen type situations. They're not a Killzone, and they're not. I was about to say Drive Club, but that's not in there. What is the other one? Knack, I guess. I don't even know if I'm interested in that. God, Killzone now is the only one I'm thinking that's.
I'm super excited for next gen, except for the games. It's kind of how I feel like every conversation like this goes.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely into the new systems. If they had something to play, it would be really cool.
I know.
It's okay. I find the systems, they're fascinating enough. They're interesting enough as whatever they are. They're perfectly interesting. And they're more than capable of just being a better looking version of what we have now, which, that's fair. That's fine. That's a lot of what PC gaming is about. Just being a better looking version of something that you could have had previously or elsewhere, I suppose. I don't know. Look, this is the strangest feeling in the world. I don't know how other people feel right now. I wish I did. I actually wish I talked to somebody else other than you guys, because we all think a little bit too much alike. We're all pretty much of the same age.
Yeah.
We're older, than an awful lot of people that are interested in gaming right now, because we're just, immature or something. I don't know. I don't exactly know what it is, but we never really got out of the habit of playing video games and being interested in them. So we're all mid to late 30s. We've seen half a dozen console releases, as adults.
Mm-hmm.
We spent a lot of our own money on them. We have said a lot of things that turned out not to be true. We've been surprised and disappointed in a lot of different ways. To us, knowing what we know, having seen what we have, this just isn't what it should be, I keep waiting for that feeling to kick in. And it's a little bit there. It's a new product. It's something that's new for everybody. It's a shared experience that we'll all get to talk about for the next month or so. And it's really kind of interesting. But nothing that I'm going to look at is going to blow me away.
I think if I remember, I was a lot like this for the 360 release. Because I remember the launch titles for the 360 just not being up there. Cameo wasn't something that I was, shouting to the rafters about.
Yeah.
It was just there, and I really had nothing else to play on it.
It does, but I mean, that didn't even necessarily matter, because the 360 definitively looked better than what anything else could do.
Yeah.
That was the best looking video gaming on planet Earth at that time. It is as good as it had ever been, ever. That feeling can't really be replicated right now, because what we have on these new consoles is just, at their best, matching what a PC can do. And we know this. We know this for a fact. That's no slouch against things like Killzone at all. looks fantastic. But, you know, it's not leagues better than anything else I can get right now. Infamous looks pretty fantastic too. Quantum Break looks magnificent. All these things, they look really, really good. But if they were multi-platform, if they were on the PC as well, I think they'd be a lot less interesting. I think we'd be a lot less blown away. So just looking at the whole thing
Good
now,
point.
I'm not saying that it's bad. There's nothing bad here, but there's nothing like... The most recent example I can think of is playing like Uncharted or playing... it may seem silly now looking back, but playing Lost Planet, that demo of Lost Planet that they had running for the 360. That first... was it E3? Was that what it was? Where they allowed you to download the demo? I just remember
I
playing it
can't
at your
remember if
house.
it came from E3 or if it came from Tokyo Game Show. I can't remember.
I don't remember either. I just remember playing it. And I was like, man, you downloaded a demo on your console. I used to like get them, the little disc that came in the magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Or the, what were they called? Those compilation of PlayStation 1.
Oh, the jam packs.
The jam packs,
Yeah.
yeah. Those were so great. I loved them so much. And then, downloading a demo isn't foreign if you're on the PC, but that you did it on your console was just so cute. Look what you can do. Good job. And then, when I played it and I was like, this just this looks great. This looks great, and it's doing all sorts of grown-up PC stuff, and it's talking to the internet, and the internet's talking back. It was awesome. I loved it. Now I'm just like, yeah, I get it. Yeah. I get it. I can download stuff. Yes, I get it. The cloud. Servers on the internet. I understand what that is. What else do you have?
Now
Blu-rays. What a great thing that you have there. You have Blu-ray discs. Fantastic. What else do you have?
You can't make those features anymore. You can't make those. Here's a feature of the system.
Yeah.
You've got to. It's got to be something else.
Again, and if you're not coming from PC gaming, this is all great. Everything looks much better. Everything plays much better. Instead of having systems that had to learn how to be online, had to really learn how to be internet appliances, you've got systems built from the ground up to do exactly that thing. You've also got two systems coming out within a week of each other.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. It hasn't happened since 95.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen for 18 years. I mean, it's kind of a big deal, These two guys going at it the way they are, it should be more interesting to me. But the most interesting thing about it is the comparison of raw horsepower, all of the controversy, how it's affected business and the economics, these dry things that, old men are interested in, What's it doing to the markets? That's all I really care about.
Gersnort says that apparently there's an offline mode. It's a new back-of-the-box feature that is listed on the new Call of Duty. Is that, yes, you can play this offline.
Really?
Yeah. It's actually got a little logo or little picture to, with the multiplayer and with saves and all this other stuff. Now offline mode is one of those things they put on the box, which I think is interesting. So
I just can't put my finger on exactly why that feels so wrong. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious, but
Doesn't feel like a feature.
yeah. No,
It should be
doesn't.
should be default.
I suppose. I mean, should it be though? That's really the more interesting thing. What I had before should be the default for the thing that I have now, and features should just be added on top. I think that says a lot about I think a lot of the trouble that we've had over the last few months is based in that idea. They don't agree with us. They don't agree. Microsoft has no reason to agree with you on that. Neither does Sony. Neither does anybody. Neither do the people we like. They don't see it the way we do. They're not gamers. Even the people who make games, as much as they may want to say it, they really aren't. Not in practice. Maybe in spirit, in their heart they're gamers, but they're not really. They're people who make games, and they spend their entire life making games and working in a really hard business.
and have very little time to play other people's games.
Yeah, they're not. And I think it's important to keep that in mind. So what we think should be is just what we think. They don't agree. They don't have to agree. And, so here we are. This is what we got, and we'll see if it's good enough. Because I don't know. Offline mode would be great, but I don't know. I won't use it probably until my internet goes out. Then I'm gonna have like a screaming fit.
Man, that was a saving grace whenever the tornado hit us.
Yeah.
Did not have cable that worked, but we had power.
Yeah.
And we didn't have internet that worked either. So all we had was the PlayStation 3, and we played Heavenly Sword. I think you and I sat there not in the dark, but
well, we had no internet. It was pretty dark.
I
I don't know what to do. I do not know what to do when internet goes out. I don't. I am completely useless. I'm like that thing that happens when people get unplugged in the Matrix.
Yeah, I think of about a dozen things. I have time to do this now. Oh, that requires internet.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I could go and get this thing. Oh, but that's on the internet too. I'll go read about. Oh, no, I can't do that either.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
My internet's broken. Let me look up why my internet's broken. Why isn't this working? See, I can't even do mundane activities. I really can't. I can't even like wash the dishes because I'm just so upset that the internet is out. So
it's one of those things where it's like, well, I guess my only choice now is go to sleep.
Yeah.
And hopefully wake up when the world has caught up and gotten back online with itself. Because I'm in the same.
I wouldn't know, man. I wouldn't know what to do offline. I'm so completely tamed now but the positive and negative reinforcement of the internet's like ever-present judgment of everything I do in a video game.
Gersnort seems to think that the only way I would ever play Heavenly Sword is because the internet went out. And for the amount of updates that it would take in the machine to go through in order to play the thing. It was amazing. I played it. I guess I was renting it from Gamefly, maybe Blockbuster at the time. I don't know, which is another thing you can't do. And I don't know why I hadn't gotten around to playing it or whatever the case, but boy, I think we finished it, didn't we? We played through the entire thing, didn't we?
Yeah. I don't know what happened.
But it was just like, there's nothing else to do, and so we played that, so.
I remember the thing that you would throw and it would fly around, and then you would 6-axis controller it, and that's about it.
There was a little section where you'd fire arrows, and you could guide the arrows where you wanted to go.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Using the 6-axis
it was really terrible.
situation, yeah. Goodness. I'm trying to think of any other games that were from this generation. I mean, there was a lot, but
I don't know.
Just those ones that stood out.
I'm just so tired of this generation. I'm just go away.
You're tired of this generation?
It's been...
And tired of talking about the next one,
away.
In a sense.
Get here, get the old stuff. Everybody just get rid of it. Stop talking about it. I don't know. It's so exhausting caring sometimes. It's really just too much effort to care that much. And we've been caring for like 2 years longer than we should have cared.
Yeah.
Previously. Supposed to be done. Over with by now. It's too long in coming.
Yeah, Matt mentions Deus Ex Human Revolution was great for this generation. It's very strange because I only played that on the PC. And I forget that it did have a console release.
Yeah.
But it's a sense of, if I played it on a PC, it doesn't feel last gen in a sense.
No, that actually makes a lot of sense. You have to stop and think sometimes where you want to put those generational markers because the PC is a continuum.
Right, exactly. So when he brought that up, I was thinking, but and then I thought, no, that was a console release and it was this generation. So,
and its design was influenced by console design.
It's design you probably won't see.
Yeah. Because
again,
it had load points in, I remember a particular, like a subway or tram area.
Yeah, it had alleyways, subways.
To load the next big area.
Right, line of sight break areas,
see a lot
loading
less
areas.
of that this next generation. That's something I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. Pinball Effects being my game of the generation. I like it. I don't even want to begin to think about what my game of the generation is. I have no idea.
Just say Last of Us, and everybody will agree with you, and you can just go on and get on with your life. It's a bad answer.
Okay.
In my opinion, but
Burnout Paradise.
Paradise is so good.
It is. And it kept the DLC coming. It was one of those very well-supported type games that did DLC right, in my opinion. At the time when people were doing DLC in all manners of wrong ways. And they continued to support that game for a year after it was released, with more updates, and then even a huge to close it out. To close out their updates, they released a huge part of the map that they had been working on. Sadly, they only released that for the console versions and never released that for their PC part. In fact, if you buy the Ultimate Box on PC, you will not get access to the legendary cars, which were the movie cars, the bikes, or not the bikes, but the toy cars and a couple of other DLC packs. You can't get them because they've closed the online store for you to just go in and grab those. Little workaround for that is you can buy a key for those things off of Amazon for about $10. And you can put that key into your Origin account, is the only one it works with, and it'll grant you access to those other things. But they never released Big Surf Island on Paradise for the PC counterpart at all. Never did. So it is only on the console versions that you can play that. But yeah, Paradise was great. Game of the generation. I don't know. I'm not even going to try and pick that. So who knows? So anyway, next week we've got the PS4 launch. I don't even know what's coming out on regular current gen systems next week. I don't think there's anything. When you look at that, what's releasing this week, probably be just a big nothing. PS4 Friday, and then all those games that are actually releasing: Killzone, Shadowfall, Knack, and Assassin's Creed 4.
AC4 is it out this week?
I want to say it is.
Okay.
For the PS4.
For the PS4, yes.
And then it releases on the 19th for PC and Xbox One, I would guess.
Okay.
So.
I thought that all three were coming out at the same time somehow.
Well, if that's the case, then it's November 19th.
Okay.
I'd have to look, but I thought it would be ready at launch.
That would be
I
sad.
really thought it would be. Battlefield 4 for PS4. I mean, all these titles that have come out sort of already.
I wouldn't mind having a side-by-side of Battlefield 4 against my PC.
They fixed the network on that? Have you were having some connection
only
issues?
only when I'm winning have they fixed the network.
If they're losing.
But then all of a sudden things turn against me and I realize, no, they didn't fix it at all. The game is utterly and completely broken. But when I'm up, when my KD is up 2-1, man, this game is great. Game works perfectly. It's designed absolutely the way it should be. Until I get killed the 8th time by some tank somewhere, and then the game is completely broken. So it's hard to tell.
Yeah, Gersnort says, I expected SimCity to work. SimCity was a huge disappointment. That was, again, that falls in the PC realm of that continuum that you were talking about. But yeah, that was a huge disappointment. Yeah, AC4 is the 19th for the PC, says Matt. But he doesn't go on to say if that's also for the PS4 and the Xbox One.
Matt providing incomplete information. What an incredible occurrence.
That's all that I can think of for next week as far as the releases. Just your PS4 and your titles. I'm getting the camera, so I'll be able to play around with that thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Are you
Yeah,
put that down too?
I got like $5 on it.
Yeah.
I don't know. If I don't get it, it'll be really cool. And then I'll have to go get it.
Right.
If I do get it, it'll be stupid. It'll be completely stupid. So maybe not. We'll see. I don't know.
I don't either. I'll get it. But I just, like you said, excited for the system being released, but the games on it, not so much. Just kind of sitting there and wanting to play them just to see them. But I'm not a Killzone guy, and I've never been into that. I played Killzone 2, and that was horrible. God, that was bad. It had tons of problems.
Looked great.
Yeah, it looked great, but it had some issues. It's a major audio bugs in it and stuff like that, and just it just was not fun to play.
Most of the initial interesting stuff for this next generation seems to be coming out, in spring of next year?
Yeah, I mean, Titanfall for the...
That we
I mean,
know
if you
about,
really... If you
anyway.
want to divide them up into their exclusives, Titanfall, although we're getting that on PC, but I mean, for Xbox One, Titanfall is going to be big for them. And Infamous is like the first Sony exclusive.
Right.
And those are...
I mean, again, that's belittling Killzone a little bit, but
It is.
that's whatever.
Personal preference, I suppose, but...
Right. If you're talking about the first big hits, the first really, really big games, yeah. I think Titanfall is a big deal. I think Infamous is a big deal.
Nathan says he's looking forward to all the free-to-play games. on the PS4,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll be there. So yeah, RJ, what about you?
One thing I'm looking forward to is Ultra Street Fighter 4 coming out on the PS3 later on, and eventually I'll probably see a new iteration of MLB The Show on the PS3 as well. So I'll have plenty to keep me busy while waiting for my chance to get a PS4 later on. I'll have plenty of things to keep me occupied before that.
You know, you're talking about that sports game. Did you see the install sizes for the Xbox One stuff?
No.
He posted pictures of them because there's a page where it shows the install sizes of like Call of Duty, Battlefield 4, stuff like that, running into double digits. I mean, even Loco Cycle from Twisted Pixel, like 13 gig install for that. NBA Live, whatever
rosters,
was
teams, stadiums, locations.
No, that was like 9 gigs.
9 gigs.
Yeah, I mean it was low.
Low.
It was a really every other number they had up there was in the 20s or the teens and stuff like that. But NBA Live was just not 2K14, by the way, not NBA 2K14, but NBA Live 14 or whatever it's called. Only had 9 gigs for install, which I thought was interesting. So, but yeah, for a fighting game for you, I was actually interested in, as far as the current gen stuff, I was kind of interested in the South Park game until they backed it off again until like March. But that's getting a PC release, so I can still be there. Even with my systems unplugged, because I can't play them anymore because I don't have room to do the switch out on those things, I'll still be able to play it. So there you go. Anyway, I think that'll wrap it up for this episode of In-Game Chat. So I want to thank everybody in the chat room. God, a ton of you guys in the chat room. Really appreciate you guys showing up and hanging out with us. And if you're new to the group, welcome. We do this every Saturday at 6 p.m. Central Time here at the station. Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and everybody who is listening in on the stream and on the radio as well. Also, thanks to everybody who grabs us every week from iTunes or however you get our show for later use. We really do appreciate it, so thank you for that. Don't forget to join us on Twitter, also over on Facebook, and our forums at colonyofgamers.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you're on Steam, we've got a Steam group you can join up with over there and play games with us and other listeners. So thanks, everybody, for joining us. We will see you next Saturday when we'll probably talk more about the PS4. So that's it. Have a great week.